Get ready for change to elevate your future, your thinking, your life. One relationship, one thought, one decision. You're closer than you think you are. Make a decision and decide where to be inspired. What's up? What's up? What's up? Good morning, everybody. It is Randy Bird, and I'm here for the Like a Boss podcast, and we're going to do it like a boss today. So I'm really excited to bring in my next guest on the podcast. His name is Russ Laggan, and I'm going to see if I pronounce that correctly when he comes on. But Russ is the senior director. I'm going to read this so I get it perfectly right. He is the senior director of growth for all of EXP. And EXP Realty is a national company, a multi-billion-dollar NASDAQ traded company. But with no further ado, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Russ.
Hey there, how are you
What's
doing?
up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm always good. I mean, it's
You are always good.
It's January. I got older already this year, which is great. I had a birthday last week. My father-in-law's always saying,
what day? My girl's was Friday.
January 10 for me.
Okay, she's 12. Yeah, so Wednesday for you. She was Friday. That's awesome.
Yeah. My father-in-law always says, Ray, like getting old sucks. I'm like, not getting old sucks more.
100%.
I'm happy to get older.
Right there. Dude, I love that, man. I love that. I'm super pumped to have you here. And honestly, you have really been a game changer for me. The last time we were together was in, San Antonio, probably physically. Yeah. You were in the swimming pool with shorts on and that outfit. You had your freaking shirt, your tie, your vest, and you were in the swimming pool. And I go, this guy's a baller. I like this guy. But honestly, we've known each other prior to that. We've shared cigars, which is the sacred brotherhood, right? The sharing of cigars.
It is.
But the reason I asked you to come on today, and I think it's really an important topic. I think it's a timely topic. And it's that of brokerages. Yeah. And you're, the senior director of growth for all of EXP. How many areas, territories, states do you handle?
Yeah, I think it was 33. So I'm west. I'm technically west and central U.S. So you've got Sean Murphy, VP over the west, Amy Weaver's east. And I work with both of them, and I get on the ground. So like if it's Colorado, if it's Utah, if it's Montana, if it's North Dakota, South Dakota. So I have pretty much everything that's not on the East Coast, and I don't touch Texas anymore. We got a special guy.
You got a dedicated person for Texas.
We got a specialist for California. So that's huge because we've got 20,000 agents just between those two states alone.
Isn't that nuts? Isn't that
nuts? California is like the 5th biggest brokerage in the country.
Yeah, I think it's 15,000 agents now in California.
That's crazy, right? So yeah, California is actually dividing up into smaller sections because they're just too much for one. So it's kind of doing its own thing. So pretty much everything else, if it comes in, it kind of gets funneled to me. And I support all the growth across country. And pretty much anybody's like, hey, I want to talk to you.
Yeah,
like, we're not territorial like that. Like I love Frank on the East Coast. I love Felix running floor. Those guys like, hey, let's get the right person for that person and roll. Yeah, we're not territorial like that. Dude. So whatever you need.
I love that. And I've been licensed in California for 20 years, and it was a hot mess when they made us break that up. It was like too big to fail or something. EXP was so big. They were like, no, we're going to break this up. And it was a hot mess because we had people, going, who do I align with and all this stuff, but it's settled down now. And with growth comes pain, right? Sometimes
always.
Pain.
I mean, you remember when you were a kid, right? And you're like, Mom, my legs are killing me. And she's like, that's good. That means you're going to get taller. And I'm like, that still sucks.
That's right. I think it was Jocko, the Navy SEAL, was like, we're out of material. Good. We're out of food. Good. That's just going to make us stronger. It's what it reminded me of when you said that.
Yeah, like fasting makes you better.
Totally.
Eating a ton doesn't make you better. Fasting actually makes you better a lot of times. So sometimes it's what we take away that actually gives us the biggest gains. And we got to remember that sometimes.
It's so true. And I'm really excited about this particular segment because, brokerages are something that I've always been passionate about. I owned a small brokerage. I then went to Keller Williams, built a big office, and, been through both sides of that, almost a washing machine feel is sometimes what it felt like.
Yeah, sure.
And, when I look at brokerages now with all the lawsuits and all the things going on, there's just more pressure than ever to have consolidation, I believe, or they're not going to be able to stay in the business. It's just, there's such a fine line anyway. And in my experience, and you could correct me anytime, is when you get to about 40 agents, that's when a brokerage really starts having a profitability point where the owner's not the team leader or not the icon or the ringleader or the one income earner that's covering the whole business, which is most brokerages are designed that way. I know mine, all my commission income really supported the office, and then theirs was fluff, right?
Yeah.
And if they could pay for the copy machine and the rent, man, I was in tall cotton. And then you get to where, I had an assistant, a front desk person, all that I'd be able to leverage myself. Well, that's a typical model. And I just don't think that model is viable anymore.
Well, so here's a little history lesson for you. And very seldom do I actually name brands, but, let's say Remax. Okay. So your typical Remax, everybody knows what that is, right? Yeah. Your typical Remax office. So I had run somebody else. I got into real estate in 2005. I'd run somebody else's brokerage. By 2008, they asked me to run one of their offices, took one of their offices from losing a bunch of money to making a bunch of money. And by 2012, I realized, man, I'm making somebody else rich. I want to make myself rich. This is crazy. So I went out and sold a bunch of houses in 13, popped 105 closings, by the way. Not a bad year.
Not bad.
Being a non-competing broker, not bad. And then 14, I bought 50% of a real estate brokerage because I thought that was the next level of success for me, right? And sold that in 2015 as a fix and flipper. And that company that bought our company asked me to run the lower half of the country for them at one point. So I had 28 offices under me with, just under $1 billion in sales every year. And I was going into, 15, 16, 17, into 18. So one of the things I learned as we were going through that is we were starting to talk about growth. And I'd met a guy that was selling franchises for Remax. And we did the math. And basically a short story goes like this. The typical Remax office going into 10, 11, 12, 13, they were, when you get to 20 agents, you broke even. So if you ran a normal, small, not a big Remax, just normal 2,500 square foot, keep it simple, 1,500, 2,500 square foot, not class A stuff, class B, class C, commercial. You're in smaller strip mall type scenario. When you got to 20 agents, you were break even. So then the problem is now in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the world shifted, the market shifted. And Remax even started doing, like, some of the agents would be on 80/20s and not just on the $1,000, $1,200 a month flat fee thing, and then paying their additional 5%. So it shifted so that they had to be at like 30 and 40. So their process is very similar to most small boutique brokerages. They need 20 to 30 agents just to break even. And now it's more like 30 to 40 to break even. So your math is really close on that. And with the upward pressure of commissions from agents, because an agent can go out there and get 100% split anywhere. They can get a $500 flat fee, 100% commission split. So they're not doing 60, 40s and 75, 25s as often now. The typical brokerages are south of 20% company dollar. To run a traditional brokerage, you need to be at 20, 21, 22% to break even. So you look at like a Prudential back in the day and your C21s and your Coldwell Bankers and all of GMACs and all of those types of normal brands, they need to be around 20, 21% to break even. So when you look at the typical brokerage, when we're looking at brokerages and pulling apart, I was pulling apart P&Ls, the profit and loss statements, guys. I was looking at those and I look at the bottom line on these brokerages and the ones that are 30, 40 agents. If they're 3 and 4%, if they're 5% profitable, that's a rock star. And most of them are like break even. If it wasn't for the mortgage and title and the other affiliate business or property management, they were losing money every year. I know, I saw it times hundreds of them. So a lot of people believe these brokerages are making real money and they're like, they're doing great. But realistically, until they get to that 30, 40 agent range, they're lucky if they're breaking even. And then like they're breaking even. And now all of your sales, Randy, get to pay your bills, not pay the brokerage bills. Like, wow, we're winning, right? So these boutique brokerages are just a dogfight. And then the real problem, Randy, becomes this. The typical real estate agent that becomes a team lead and then a good team lead. So the food chain looks like this. I'm an agent selling houses, right? My job is to sell houses. That's level one. And then level two is I build a team. And then when a team is successful, they think the next thing is to become a brokerage, right? Right. This is the typical food chain. It's like, I'm a successful agent, so I build a team. And then I'm a successful team, so I got to build a successful brokerage. Yeah. And what happens, Brandy, is I get these people that sit in front of me times 20 and 30 of these brokerages a month now. coming to us saying, Russ, I need to get somebody talking.
Right.
20 of them. And I sit with this broker and I said, what do you love to do? I love to teach, train, and coach and love people's success. That's why I started the team, to help me make more money and help other people be successful. So I want to make more money and work less hours. That's why I started a team. And then I wanted to make more money and work less hours, which is why I started a brokerage. And what happens is they're working way more hours, making way less money, and they're not in charge of anything. They're like, this isn't freedom. This is a gilded cage. They can fly around in their gilded cage as much as they want. And by the way, the bigger their brokerage gets, the less they get to do what they love. Because what happens with a brokerage, Randy, is that the more people you get, the more time you spend on the back end of the business. So as an individual agent, you're spending 90% of your time working on the stuff you love and 10% on the back end of the business. As a team, you're spending 50% of the time working on the business and 50% of the time doing the stuff that you love. As a brokerage, you're working 90% on stuff you don't love and 10% on the stuff you do love.
Oh.
This is why we see a bunch of brokerages get stalled at 30, 40, 50 agents, because they don't have the time to go out and build the brokerage and love people. They're spending their time on compliance and paperwork and bookkeeping. So one of the things that we talk about, Randy, is going like, how do I get you back to doing what you love?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in your own system here, I was just talking to a C21 guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Russ,
I literally just got off the phone with a big one in Anchorage right as we got on the podcast together.
I was like, listen, you're under your own umbrella. You got your own thing. And the fun part is you got your own thing. You got your own flavor.
Right.
And the problem is now, how much of your time are you getting to spend on doing the stuff you love? And he's like, about 10%. I said, and 90% of the stuff that you don't love to do. Because I asked him, I'm like, what do you love to do? I love teaching, training, coaching, loving people.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. So here's the thing. Here's the things you didn't say, Randy. You didn't say, I love compliance. I love bookkeeping. I love accounting. I love tracking things. I love paperwork. I love technology issues. I love dealing with E&O insurance. I love dealing with websites and CRMs. And I love dealing with toilet paper. You didn't say you love that stuff. So here's the difference with what we're doing right now. If that's what you truly love, look at it like this. Here's why EXP is different. We can put you on the EXP platform, and EXP is going to take 90% of that stuff, and they're going to take that on as themselves. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get you back to doing the 90% of the stuff you do love. You're still going to have to do some back-end stuff, right? But if we can get you in a spot where you're doing 90% of what you do love, the teaching, training, coaching, loving people to success, EXP handles the back end. They handle getting people paid. They handle checks. They handle bookkeeping, accounting, technology problems. We have a technology outpost. They go to them instead of going to you. You just got to redirect. Go to the technology outpost. Okay. Get you back to doing what you love. Would you like to do that? Oh, yeah. And by the way, this guy over here makes way more money than this guy over here.
That's what I was going to ask, because that's the golden handcuff of most brokerages that they, especially, smaller, they've got this independent, this freedom.
Yeah.
But they can't really let go of the idea that they might lose that 10 grand a month that comes in, or whatever the number is.
The problem is they don't truly have freedom.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They don't truly have freedom. Do they have control?
Mm-hmm.
More so. They don't have somebody else telling them what to do. Yeah. But they're like, here's the thing, Randy. Like, here's what it really looks like, okay? Let me draw you a little picture here. I'm really great with stick figures, right? This is what it looks like, okay? Here's you. You're your little birdie. Okay. And this is my brand. Okay. My brand right here. So you basically built your own bird cage. You can fly around anywhere you want within that bird cage that you built for yourself. So do you truly have freedom, or you have constraints, but you've created the constraints so you feel more acceptable? So if I can free you from this, like, here's what we're doing. We're eliminating the bars. So you can come out and like, here's your exit plan. Your exit plan is, I can still have all the things in the control. I can build my brand, build my tribe, build my feel, build my flavor. I can have my own look. I can have my own feel. I can have my own logo. And then again, you just put this little brokered by EXP down in the bottom corner. And now you have way more freedom, because you don't have to do all the things that you don't love to do also. Because listen, that guy that calls you on Christmas Eve, on Friday before the Christmas holiday, I guarantee you somebody watching this had somebody in their brokerage have a closing on Friday at 5 o'clock, and it got delayed. Next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock, and it's 7 o'clock, and it's 8 o'clock. And then a title company cut the check wrong. And that person's like, dude, like, I got this thing. I need this money. I need this check because I can't buy Christmas gifts for my family, because that, I guarantee that happened to somebody listening to this year couple weeks ago, right before Christmas, because Christmas is on a Monday. So guess what? If that thing didn't close on Friday like it's supposed to, that person can't get that check. They can't deposit that money. They don't have money for Christmas gifts. That is a super, super common story. So who do they call? They call you at 11 o'clock at night. Randy, dude, like I can't buy Christmas gifts for my family. And you're like, listen, I'm going to send you $1,000. I'm going to wire $1,000 to you. Right. I've done that myself. Like,
yeah, I have too. And you're bringing back some PTSD, but
but I have freedom. Yeah. You're like, no, it's BS. You don't really have freedom, right? So if you could have all the upside with less of the downside, do you want that? Like, that's a shift in the conversation. But Randy, when we're having this conversation, you got to like, the recipe is really simple. It's like, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And then how are we going to get you there? Right? Because listen, nobody's buying EXP. Like, that's not what they buy. They buy them getting their life on this platform. They buy that as the ability, as a vehicle to get their life where they want it to be. So we've got to shift the way we communicate with people and start to figure out, how do we get you back to what you want to do? How do we get you going the direction you want to go? How do we get you to what your next level is for you? That's the key. That's the essence.
So when, as good as this sounds, and I think the lawsuits and the trickle down effect of the lawsuits, meaning that any brokerage is really open to get challenged in this. And,
sure.
A small brokerage would be destroyed by just the appeals process and the
Sure.
need to go through those processes. So that's scaring a lot of brokers I'm talking about.
Yes.
How do they leave ego intact and leave maybe, 10, 15, 20 years of a brokerage that they built from the ground up? And that seems to be a big thing. We are all, there's egos at play.
Yeah.
There's fear at play. What are you seeing like being the big catalyst to getting people over the hump in that particular situation?
Well, again, I think it comes back to there's a misunderstanding in what we do and how EXP works versus everything else, right?
So myth understanding?
Yeah, exactly. Myth understanding of what are we really, right? So again, we go back to, why did you do this in the first place, Randy?
Yeah.
Why did you do this in the first place? If we can get to that, it's like, and if I can get you back to that spot, like I think the misconception is that EXP is like this. It's like every other brand. Well, I got to tuck under the GMAC or the Coldwell Banker or the Remax or I got to tuck under that brand, or I have my own brand, right? This is okay. So we got the Bird brand, right? Okay. So we got the Bird brand versus C21. Like, I've got my own Bird brand. That's great. But in this scenario, whether you're under a franchise or you're under your own brand, you still have 100% of the responsibility for the stuff you love and the stuff you don't love, right? Yeah. So what do you really love? But dude, we got this cool looking umbrella with a bird on it. Cool. Right. Well, so instead of being the Bird Realty, Bird Realty or Bird Real Estate, you go to Bird, the Bird Group, right?
Right.
Okay. So Bird Realty Group. Fine. So you change one word, you add a sticker to your sign. You can still keep your flavor. You can still keep the umbrella. You can still keep the bird logo. And you just stick it over here and you put the little thing that says brokered by EXP Realty. Right. Yeah. So you basically are like, EXP doesn't want to control you.
Right.
Ideally, what EXP is doing is providing the platform for you to be the best you. So you have the freedom to do you and do your brand, do your flavor, do your style, do your colors, do your logo. I mean, here's how the rules really go. I mean, this is a slight oversimplification, but not too far off from the reality of the way we roll and the way we push stuff. If it's legal, honest, and ethical in your state, boom, do it. I don't really care what you do. If it's legal, honest, and ethical, right? And you're not causing harm to other people in the course of doing business, EXP is like, use our platform to stand taller. That's all we're doing. Align yourself. Like, I've got my own little brand. You've got 50,000 people. We've got our own little brand. We've got 90,000. You've got 90,000 people to collaborate with versus having your 50. So really, are you doing your people the most good and the most favors? You have way more options being over here. You also have way more time. And for most of these guys, Randy, hell, I had a guy that I was having a conversation with, C21. I'm not going to name his name, Illinois. And I have this conversation. He's like, Russ, as we're going through the numbers, I'm like, what do you really want to know today? What do you really want today? I said, I want you to make it hurt so much, I have to move.
Ooh.
I'm like, based on your brokerage, and by the way, this wasn't a big brokerage. It was like 40 or so agents.
Yeah.
I said, all right, so here's the deal. Let me give you bottom line. At the end of the year, You're not going to have your little, they get these little trophies called Centurion trophies. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They look like Oscars. They're kind of cool, right? He's got a whole wall of them. I said, here's the deal, dude. Over here, you're not going to get that little Oscar thing. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to give you a briefcase. I wish I had my briefcase. We're going to give you a briefcase. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that briefcase. He also loves cars, by the way. You're going to take that briefcase over to your local Ferrari dealer, and you're going to set it on the counter, and you're going to be like, hey, I want a new Ferrari 458. It's about $350,000, by the way. And you open up the briefcase and you hand them $350,000 cash. And then you slam the briefcase closed and you walk over back home and you say, honey, I just brought a Ferrari 458. Here's the other $300,000 that's left. And you let your wife do whatever she wants with her $300,000. So sorry, you're not going to get a Centurion, but you've got $650,000 more in your pocket every year. And he's like, how? What? That doesn't.
And that was his specific situation.
That was his specific situation. I can name the guy. I'm not going to name him here because I don't want to do that to the guy.
Yeah.
But for him, with the amount of money, time, and energy and effort he was putting in, the franchise fees and the cost of doing business, and the way he had his team set up, if he brings it over here and runs it on our platform, he can still keep his name and he'll just add group to the end of it. That's it. He's going to keep his same logo and put a little sticker that says group on the end of it. He's net $650,000 more in his pocket every year. Now, that's an extreme example, but this guy just did this like 3-4 months ago. He just made the move. And I said, listen, man, like, I don't know, how many more years are you going to be in business? And he's like, well, Russ, I want like probably 20 years. I'm like, let's go with 10. That's 650,000 times 10. That's $6.5 more million in your pocket in 10 years. So now the question is, do you really want to go the other 10? If you got $6.5 more million, save all of it. Don't change anything. Save every penny of it. You don't need to work anymore. So Randy, as we're going through this process, here's really the game. The game breaks down into 3 pieces, and I've been doing this more recently, and I kind of quantified it with my little slope curve.
Yeah, I like that.
I know you've seen this. Like in the first phase of the business, every single person that's going into this business is their number one goal is, how do I make enough money, right? It's that, how do I get to the cash number that I need to be able to make the world move around? And then once they get to the point where they got the cash that they need coming in every year, then the second thing they start to go to is like, now I want my time back, man. Right. This guy's like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, man. I'll work 24/7 to get to that number. Cool. And then you get to that number and you're like, I don't want to work every evening and I don't want to work every weekend.
I've succeeded now. What's the next step, right? Yeah.
And then now once we get these two put together, then that person, like, I've got good balance of time and money coming in. Then that person was like, okay, the next step is, how do I get true freedom? Mm-hmm. True freedom is, I don't have to trade time for money doing this anymore. Now I'm doing this because either I want to, or because it feeds something else in my soul. So I have true freedom. This, I also like to call this exit. And that's basically saying I could stop now. So this guy, I could stop at the 10-year mark, not have to do anything else. And I got $6.5 more million in my bank account. Just if I don't make a dime on investments, I got $6.5 more million. That guy literally can choose to exit. Not that he wants to, not that he's going to, but he can if he wants to, right, which really is true freedom. And then once that person gets to the point where they have that moment of freedom and they're like, listen, you're still young, Randy. Like, you have freedom now. Now what are you going to do? And we got a bunch of people around us. They go to that 4th level, which I love. This 4th level here is how do you build a legacy? Like, how are some of the things that I'm doing going to last past the time that I live? And we have this great example right now of Rick Giha. I know you know the story of Rick. Rick passed away suddenly.
I went to a celebration of life.
Dude, like, just ripped everybody's heart out, right?
Yeah.
Because this guy was in that freedom mode. He had and he was doing what he was doing, not because he had to, because he wanted to, and he wanted to leave a legacy. And let's be clear, he won on that one, right?
He left a legacy, yeah.
He left a legacy, right? Yeah. And then you got people like, like we got people like Gene Frederick, right? He's had a legacy for years already. Mm-hmm. So what does Gene want? So then here's the fun part. There's this 5th level for guys like that. They've already built a legacy. And then here's the fun part. That 5th level for somebody that's already here, you're like, what does a guy like that want, Russ? I got this guy. He's like, Russ, I'm already there, man. I've got 50 agents that are successful under me. I've changed their family. I've got their kids joining our brokerage now. Right. And I know all their grandkids. Like, the stuff that we did helped those families get to the point where they could have kids, and then and now I know all the grandkids. I said, great, cool. So here's the next level for you. How about you show them how to do what you did?
Mm.
So now you got legacy number 2. So it doesn't matter where you are on this curve. If you're still alive and breathing, most of the people that got here, when I say your next legacy 2.0,
Right.
legacy 2.0 is to help 100 people have what you have. I love this, and this was summed up, and you'll love this. This was summed up by one guy that said this out loud, and I thought, wow, all right, this guy's legacy 2.0. He's like, my goal now is to help 100 people make $1 million a year.
Mm.
That's a guy showing other people how to build a legacy, showing people how to get where he was, right? And that, to me, so there's always more, right? The people that get here are so driven, they're not going to stop. They're just going to do something different. So now it's like, not focus on me, focus on everybody else.
Right, totally.
You can start that here, right? Because it really is that outward focus. And remember that brokerage thing? That brokerage thing is because they wanted to help other people. But the problem is they get stuck in this trading time for money cash. They never get to the time where they have enough money and they have the time. Because I don't know, many brokers are like, you know what, Russ? I really don't work that many hours. I don't know very many of them that do that. Once in a blue moon you do, but those are people that like 10 agents and they don't actually do anything for their agents. Some of them are, but they still have to sell houses, right? Yeah. So how many of them are really at freedom? Very, very few, which is why we say, hey, move over here and we can put you in a position where you keep doing what you're doing and you can get yourself set up for freedom.
Yeah, been there, done that, thought I had freedom. And I remember going on vacation for 7 days and telling my assistant, don't get a hold of me unless it's like an emergency. And I got called like 7 times in 7 days. And then I came home and broke everything, including firing some people that were obviously I couldn't leave alone, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then so we went down the road about 90 days, 180 days maybe. And then I went on another vacation for a month and I literally locked the door and I said, we're going to do a test and whatever burns down, we're going to fix when I get back. Yes. And that was my version of creating time and financial freedom. Yes. And, I had 25 agents. It was awesome.
Yes.
But that was my litmus test was, can I shut the door for 30 days for me? It's still operating, it's still running, but can I do that and have it not be smoldering embers when I get home? And we were actually able to leave for 30 days with less trauma and drama and everything else in the business than 7 days. And it was on purpose. It was very, very cool.
I hear so many of these people and they're here like, but Russ, I really love being an owner. Got it. I mean, it's a great ego stroke in a lot of ways, right? It's my thing. There's a sense of pride in that. I totally get that, right? But if it's not serving you, like what's the ultimate goal of this thing? It's to make money so that you have the ability to get to this point. And if it's not doing that, let's change it. You can still have that. It feels good, but you have the ability to actually get to that freedom thing.
100%.
30-day stress test is it, right? If you get to 30 days, if you can't walk away from 30 days,
right,
you're not an owner. You're an employee.
That's 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
You're still an employee. So you got to get to the point where you have the parts and pieces and systems in place where you walk away from 30 days. And here's really great. If you got the right people, you get out of their way for 30 days, they actually accelerate without you.
Yeah. They'll
get out of their way.
You're all right. So let's talk tactical because this is this is amazing. Maybe even a little pie in the sky for some of the people that might be watching this that own a brokerage of 5, 10, 20.
Sure.
I'm meeting with a guy that's got 50 agents. I met with another one that has 45 and they've been around for 50 years. Right. Yeah. And they're in Washington, just so I don't embellish anybody's model in business. But what does this look like for the brokerage that is wondering how they do this? So mathematically, can you take us through how a transition would look like this? There's some new programs to enhance the initial partnership with the XP. What does all that look like for you? Like, take us through that if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so here's the thing. We get this messed up. We get this messed up a lot, Randy. So here's my thoughts on the process. Step one, should I do this or not? Right? That's like step one. Okay. Is EXP a good fit for me or not? Because if it's not a good fit, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. Okay. So let's make sure EXP is a good fit. Culturally, easy for me to say, culturally, are we a good fit? Do you align with what we're doing and how we're doing it? Does this make sense? Right? If this makes sense, cool. Let's talk again. Okay. Then let's talk about the numbers. But if this doesn't make sense to get you back to this and you really enjoy this, like for somebody that loves compliance and bookkeeping and accounting and so forth, and they're making money, fine. Like don't do anything. Okay. So here's the thing. Should I? There's 3 types of people that are thinking about doing something different. It's important we understand that. And I think a lot of people miss this. Okay. there's three different types of people that are going to do something. Okay. Should do something, need to do something. Number one, I want out. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. We get a lot of people saying, I want out of this business. I want out of this brokerage. I'm out.
For a lot of different reasons: medical, divorce, time, age, everything.
70. I got a guy 77 years old. And he's like, Russ, I'm done. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So that's one. Number two is they don't want to do it like this anymore. They want to shift. Okay. So two is shift. So one is they want out. Number two is they want to shift. Randy, I've been doing this for whatever. I don't want to do it like this anymore. I need something to be different. Okay.
Right.
My cage is great, but I'd like to have my cage with a door, whatever that is. Okay. I'm not doing it like this anymore. It wasn't what they thought it was. It didn't build the way they thought it would. They didn't shift with the market changes. The world changed and they didn't, whatever. Okay. They're done doing it that way. They don't want to do it that way. When they do it different, I'm going to shift the way I'm doing business. Okay. This is a shift. Okay. Moving over to EXP and doing it a little different. Shift. Okay. The third one and the one that I really love is, hey, Russ, I need to level up my business. I'm stuck here, stalled here. I haven't moved forward in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know what the path to next level is. I need to align with other people. I'm by myself doing my own thing, going my own direction. I really don't have other people to run with. They say, the old African proverb says, you want to run fast, go by yourself. You want to run far, go with a group, right? So there's a lot of people here solo that are like, they need to run with a group. So like, I want to take this to the next level. And by partnering with you and by aligning with you, by aligning with the organization, by aligning with EXP, we're able to take our business to the next level. So the first things first is, that's why I always ask them, what do you love to do? What do you not love to do? What's working for you? What's not working for you? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to be doing? So once I get really clear on where they're at now, where they want to be, then it's like, okay, let's talk about how to get you there. And if they fit into one of those three categories, I want out, I want to shift, or I want to level up my business, shift and level up my business. Usually those two are combined. If they want the second and third one, we've got some really great solutions. If they just want out, Coldwell Banker will give you a check and you can walk away. It's not going to be very much. And there's a bunch of companies that'll give you 30% year one of company dollar, 20% of year two company dollar, and 10% of year three company dollar. That's the other exit plan a lot of people have. And here's the problem. If you do the math, that's 60% over 3 years, and you still have to be engaged for 3 years. You're better off, and I've given this advice way more than once, Randy, you're better off in that case. Instead of doing that, run this business full throttle for 1 year. You're going to collect 100%, slam it into a brick wall, light it on fire, walk away, close the doors, and you're actually ahead 40% and 2 years of your life. Okay, so the exit plans for most of these brokerages don't actually provide them an exit. However, within the EXP ecosystem, if they align with a group like yours, you can tuck their agents under your organization and you can help that transition faster so they can get back to doing what they love and they can actually still get something long-term out of it. It's going to be a small check a bunch of times, but you can have that small check a bunch of times for a bunch of years.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have solutions for all three. We just got to figure out which one it is. And then we got to show them how to get that. Okay. So that's one. Should I do this or shouldn't I do this? Okay. Then the second section is, once I say, you know what, this makes sense and I can be here and I can have what I want and that works for me, that would make sense for me. Yes, that'll get me in the right direction. Then the second conversation is, okay, let's talk about how to structure this guy so he has the freedom. Right. And what do those numbers look like? I go back to that C21 story. We had the first conversation. He's like, Russ, this sounds like I should be talking more about great. So let me show you, if you take your team and move it over here and work them as a team, I'll show you 3 different ways you can set your team up. And all 3 of those ways have different numbers attached to them. And you got to determine which one of those 3 makes most sense for this guy so he can live the life he wants. And then the numbers and money are acceptable. Almost all of these guys that come over and become this guy have more money in their pocket. And for some of them, like, here's the real one, right? Sometimes it's only $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year.
Right.
I said, okay, but this guy right here, if he doesn't have to do all that back end stuff, how much more time every week does this guy have? Right. And this guy will say, well, I'll have 20 more hours a week, or I'll have 30 more hours a week. Okay. And this guy wants to sell more homes. Great. If you had 30 more hours in a week, how many more homes do you think you could sell in a month? And this guy will say 2. Okay. So 2. So that's 24 in a year. Your typical commission's 10K. So you're making $20,000 more a month. Plus the 50,000. So you got 240 plus your 50. So you're $300,000 a year net ahead. And you're going to be in business how long? 10 years. So that's $3 million more in your pocket. So while
you still have your umbrella that you've created, your whatever it may be.
You still have Randy Bird flavor. You still have Randy Bird tribe. You can still run the team. You can still do it. But you're gonna dedicate 10 hours to the team. You're gonna dedicate the other 30 to you and get you back to doing what you love. And net in 10 years, you're gonna have $3 more million in your pocket. So don't change the way you spend a dollar. And net, you have $3 more million in your pocket. So wow. It's sometimes the cash, like we're not cutting checks like some of these other companies are like, well, Russ, they cut me a $2 million check in 2020. I'm like, good for you. Yeah. And they got that. He's like, the problem is they got that $2 million back over the next 3 years during that contract. And I'm like, so net, how many dollars do you have?
Right.
He's like, you want to do that again? No, let's make the move now. And then you don't spend a dollar of that net, you're $3 million ahead.
And more importantly, those bonuses, incentives are tied to so many contractual restrictions and resets. And
agreed. It's a short-term check that creates a short-term solution. Yeah. And over the next 3 years, listen, I don't know a single company yet, and I've done acquisitions with another company. We did a number of acquisitions. We never set up a deal where like, okay, we're going to give them money, and in 3 years, they're going to be ahead. Never. Not once did the attorney go, if we tweak this, we could actually lose money at the 3-year mark. Never, right? So we always want to get the money back by the time the contractual obligation is up. And then, by the way, over the next 3 years, if you stay, now we're ahead even more. So like everybody that's cutting a check is looking at getting that and more back. That's what we call investing. We're investing. We're giving the money to hope we get more back at the 3-year mark, not even. And there's certain scenarios where they can take a short-term loss in order to have a longer-term gain, but they still have to retain those people. Mm-hmm. And then the math doesn't work. So a lot of people getting these 3-year agreements, and at the 3-year mark, they're like, I'm actually in the hole now. And we're moving them over here and setting them up on a path where they can actually get to this and build this.
I love it.
It's a mindset shift.
Yeah. And we've brought in EXP's partnered with some massive players, even as of late. The Bain team, which was 600 agents or something. Yes. A couple teams in LA were 150 plus.
Yes.
It's really amazing. I don't know of any other companies that's attracting those kind of agents without buying them. Right.
And agreed.
And there's an argument both directions. I get it. I think it was a really brilliant plan by Compass when they laid out that we're going to be 20% market share and buy our way into these markets, because now they've achieved those things, but they're still not profitable, and they weren't profitable in the best market. That's the challenge I see with writing checks to partner and to move the needle. And it's appealing for broker owners, right?
Yes.
I'm battling with a gal right now in Florida that was offered that years ago. Now they're not doing it anymore. So they're wanting EXP to step up and do that. And I'm like, that's not our model though.
No,
there's just a lot of other ways to have this model be beneficial.
If I have to pay you to be here, is it really that great?
Yeah, I get it. And we're looking at, I still think it's attached to ego. I think it's attached to, I built this brand for 25 years. It's got to be worth something. Yes. And when you look at it from an investor point, without it being even, in a place of desperation or otherwise, there's hardly any value in a brokerage to purchase. Right. You remove the team leader's volume out of it or the broker owner's volume, and you look at the brokerage by itself. Yes. Very difficult to make those profitable.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at it like, let's say, I happen to be a rare bird in that somebody actually paid me and my business partner 3.5 time multiplier of my business. And what we found out later is, number one, they had to do that because they needed a company that actually knew how to do real estate sales in that market at that time. And also what I didn't realize after the fact was, and I can name names on this person who's now president of another company. That's amazing. One of my favorite people in the world. And she said something along the lines of, we did that because we wanted you. Mm-hmm. They basically bought me. Right. And then I was with their company and helped them build the lower half of the country. So I had 28 offices under me at one point with just under $1 billion in sales. We built it up. And they went from doing 90% REO business to doing 80% agent generated business within a span of 3 years. But they needed somebody to teach them how to shift to get the right people on the board. We realized they had a whole business and a whole company full of indoor cats. If you hand them business, they were great at it. But if you tell them to go out and hunt, they had no idea how to be an outdoor cat.
100%. That's such it's a great analogy, by the way. So Boost, Thrive, and let's talk about that.
Okay,
Accelerate, Boost, Thrive.
Real simple plan. In conversation in DC, you had a bunch of the C group got together and they sit down and strategize once a quarter. Is like, how do we make this company better?
Right.
Who does that? Well, every quarter they have a quarterly business review. And instead of just going through what did we do, it's like, what can we do? What are we thinking about doing? And they spitball a bunch of crazy stuff. And sometimes they're like, no, and like, that's crazy. And other times they're like, that's crazy, but maybe if we did, so this boost came out of that. And it basically looks like this. One of the conversations went, how do we get these people to move? I said, one of the problems is, we had the conversation, said one of the problems is when a broker, it's painful for the brokers to move because they've got span where they move everything over and then they got to change signs, they got to change logos and change paperwork and change and all that stuff.
Lull and transition.
Big dip, right? So if we could have a scenario where we could actually make that dip a little less painful short term so that they have the ability to survive financially. Because some of them don't have listen, when they're ready at the point they're moving, they're not moving because they're making so much money they got to move. They're moving because they're like, I've already sunk the boat. It's underwater. We nicknamed it the Titanic. So we got to bring the thing back up, bail the water. So they don't have extra cash. So if we could put a little cash in their pocket short term and then give them the rest of it at the 1 year mark based on retention, because I don't want to build a company that gets a bunch of losers, right? So the Boost program is for companies that are 50 agents plus, over $100 million in sales, they qualify for Boost. Okay. These are for the companies that there's substantial cost to making a move like that. So we try to offset that a little bit and take a little bit of the sting out. It's not a huge number, but it makes it so it's doable for a lot of people versus completely not doable. Many of them just have to shut the doors and walk away. So this gives them an option to maybe potentially make that roll in versus having to shut the door and walk away. And let's be clear, guys, if you got any brokerage of any size, if it's less than 50, bring it to us, because there's certain things we could potentially work and find a way to make something that makes sense. We understand what it takes to make that move. So if we can find a way to make it make sense, we'll do that. But the Boost program is officially for 50 plus 100 million production. And we have the Thrive program, which is kind of funny. They're like, well, we got brokerages. We got these teams that make this move too. So Boost is actually a cash incentive that gives them a little bit of cash up front and then the remainder of the cash at the 1 year mark. Okay, and it's paid 90 days after the 1 year mark. And they have to keep their people intact, and it's based off the production of the year. It's based off their previous production, right? It's not based off of P&L. It's not based off of balance sheets. It's based off of previous production, okay? And what they would pay EXP if they were here at that time. We do the same thing for teams. Teams that would qualify for mega team. They're very similar position. They're not brokers, but similar issues. So it's 10 agents plus 40 million in production. Okay, if they fit in that mega team size, then we have a stock incentive for them to make the move. So we give them a little bit of an extra push to make that move and make it so it offsets some of the time, energy, and effort and cost. Well, now that's a stock incentive, not cash incentive. But that stock incentive, usually these guys, if they're doing pretty good, they're making money. So they don't really need the money as much as it just offsets some of that loss of making that shift. Okay. And then for everybody coming over, any new agent to EXP, we have the Accelerate program. And the Accelerate program, basically, they always say it opens up level 2 and 3 for their revenue share organization. But realistically, it's 1, 2, and 3, because if you get anybody on level 1, you automatically qualify them. But it also gets anybody that's on level 2 and level 3. So if somebody makes a move over and they add a couple people and they do the right stuff and a couple more people add because of the people they added, just get them paid on those immediately.
100%.
This kind of gives you like a jump start. So let's say, hey, Randy, you and I are going to run a 5K. You and I are going head to head.
Yeah.
I get to start a half mile ahead.
Right, exactly.
and at the 12-month mark, this just gives you an advantage to get you as many people as you can, to give you incentive to make sure that you have the 10 at the 1 year mark so that you can still keep being paid on all 3. Okay,
100%,
so
100%.
It's a head start, basically.
And like one of the things that we did was this program called You Plus Two, Them Plus Two, which
can you hold 1 second?
Do you hear that noise?
Yeah.
No.
The side thing blue. There's water shooting out the side of our house.
I've got water shooting on the side of our house. You got water shooting on the side of our house.
You got to go do your thing, man. It's cold here too. It's frozen. All the pipes are rough, but dude, it's been amazing. I really appreciate you. I'm going to put some stuff on the screen so people can get a hold of us, but Go handle that.
You got it, brother. It's a pleasure. Let's do this again soon.
We're right on time.
All right. Have a good one, brother.
I appreciate you, brother. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, he had a water emergency, and that happens when you're live. You know, we're here in Oregon, and we've got a crazy freeze going on right now. Matter of fact, I don't have water in half of my house. The other half works where the shower is good. But if you enjoyed this today, reach out to me. I'm going to put this back on here. if you're a broker really looking at this information and wondering what you can do to maybe just get an idea of what this may look like with EXP, removing all the liability, the exposure, all the management, all the components of it, even if you own multiple offices, we can do this for you for free. We can very quickly go through the numbers and see what this looks like in year 1, 2, and 3. So reach out to me if you're interested. I've got my handle there. Coach Randy Bird is Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all that. And then also you can email me if you want to at teambird.com or at teambird@gmail.com. And we'll send you the Boost, the Thrive, the Accelerate programs so you can look those over and see what the details are of those. But I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. It's Randy Bird saying, have an amazing day. I appreciate you being here, listening to this content and information. And thanks again, Russ, for being our guest today. And he had to run to fix broken pipes, water squirting everywhere. It's the polar blast. All right, you guys, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Get ready for change to elevate your future, your thinking, your life. One relationship, one thought, one decision. You're closer than you think you are. Make a decision and decide.